How to buy a 9.45% preferred on Schwab, step by step. Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well and welcome back to Markets with Marcus. So, our previous videos on preferred stock investing and how to use Fidelity's preferred stock screener seem to have piqued the interest of a few of our VIP members and Diamond NestEgg regulars. So much so that the Schwab fans in our community also asked if we could do a tutorial to walk them through how to find and potentially buy higher yielding preferred shares on Schwab's platform. And that's exactly what we'll be doing in today's video. So we went on Schwab and found that they offered more than 200 preferreds with an investment grade rating from either S&P or Moody's. And this one from N-Star showed an attractive current yield of 9.45% at the time of this taping, on May 25th, 2026. Schwab's 200 plus investment grade preferreds that we found was significantly more than what was on offer at Fidelity at that time. For comparison, Fidelity had less than 100 investment grade preferreds listed, and none of them had a higher current yield than 8.16%. Now, we don't know whether that's always the case, but when we looked, Schwab was indeed ahead of Fidelity in terms of number of preferreds offered, as well as top yields available. Which leads us to the question for today's video. How can you buy a 9.45 preferred on Schwab, step by step? Please note that the illustrative example of N-Star Group with its current yield of 9.45% that we'll be walking you through in this video was on Schwab's platform at the time of this taping on May 25th, 2026, as I mentioned before, but it's in no way guaranteed. You may find completely different preferred offerings at the time that you're watching this video and or when you try to use the Schwab preferred screener yourself. So I'll start by logging into our Schwab account like I normally do. And from the home screen, I'll click on Research up here, and from the drop-down menu that appears, under Research Tools, I'll select Stocks down here. And here is the next screen that pops up. I'll click on Preferred Screener, and this page opens. And I'm already right on the starting page for the Preferred Share Screener. So far, the process has been quite painless, and it took us a few clicks less to get to the screener than we needed at Fidelity. Plus, personally, I like the cleaner look of the Schwab pages. They make it easy for me to find where I want to go. That said, we're still staring at an empty screen, so to speak, and I will need to select my own criteria now for building a list with preferred offerings. I'll click on Choose Criteria here, but nothing happens. It's still the same empty screen. So I'll click on Basic here next, and I can see 7 different criteria that I could choose from, including current yield, sectors and industries, stated call, cumulative, convertible, last close price, and common stock of issuer. Now, while these are all useful filters, they're not what I'm looking for today. As we said before, we want to build a list with investment grade preferreds. So I'll click on Ratings next, and while the basic criteria disappear again, I now can select both S&P Global's credit rating and Moody's rating. At this point, I can decide to either screen for just S&P ratings or Moody's ratings, or I could also combine them. There's always a bit of a discussion in financial circles whether you want investment grade ratings from both S&P and Moody's, or whether an investment grade rating from one of them may be sufficient. Now, for us, it may sometimes give us a bit more comfort if the ratings from the large agencies match or are at least in the same range. But I will keep it simple today and will go for S&P only. And before you ask, there is no deeper reason for that other than the fact that I took Moody's for the Fidelity preferred screener video last time, so I want to balance it out a bit here. I'll click on S&P Global's credit rating now, and this screen opens up next that gives me this bar with all S&P ratings. And I'll select all S&P investment grade ratings by clicking on the boxes for BBB, A, AA, and AAA. The boxes turn a darker shade of gray, confirming that I selected them, and I can see now that Schwab has 241 investment-grade preferreds in its database. You should, of course, select the ratings that suit your personal situation. Plus, in case you're wondering, I did check offline for Moody's investment-grade ratings as well, and it gave me a selection of 252 preferreds. That's again a bit more than for S&P, as we had already seen when we did the Fidelity preferred screener walkthrough. It seems Moody's may have a leg up with ratings when it comes to preferred stock. In any case, the difference in the number of preferreds offered is not so large this time. So we'll keep going with these 241 preferreds with an investment grade rating from S&P that Schwab has found for me so far. I'll click on View 241 matches now, and here we are at the full list of 241 preferreds with investment grade ratings from S&P. As I mentioned earlier, this was my search result at the time of this taping, on May 25, 2026. It may look different at whenever you may try it yourself, as the offering will change over time and with market conditions. So, a few comments at this point about Schwab's preferred screener. I personally find this screen clear and easy to navigate, and it gives me a lot of information already. We have the symbol, the description, and the current yield. Here we have what Schwab labels stated call. A yes means that the security is callable, but a call notification has not been issued. We can also see the next call date here. Most preferreds on the list are in this category, by the way, as you may already have guessed just from this part of the list here that you can see. It's all yeses, which, by the way, may play a part in the potential higher yields of many preferreds. We'll get back to that later. A no here means that the preferred is not callable. There are a few ones on this list. And if it were to say call scheduled, which we haven't found on this list, this would mean that a notification has already been issued for when the preferred will be called. Next, we have the regular call price, usually the par value of the preferred, the price in dollars at last close, and in the next two columns, we have the indicators for whether the shares are convertible into ordinary shares at the request of the owner and or cumulative, whether any missed preferred dividends need to be made whole before any distributions can be made to common shareholders. Then comes S&P Global's credit rating, our selection criteria for this list, as well as Moody's rating and the industry sector that the issuer of the preferred is operating in. And at the very end, we have this blue symbol that says pop-up chart if I hover above it with my mouse. If I click on this symbol, it gives me this pop-up chart for the share price of the preferred. And if I want, I can run several time periods and add a few comparisons, for example. But back to the overview screen. The one piece of information that I'm missing here that I find fairly important is an indicator for whether the preferred dividends might be qualified, meaning whether they might qualify for the advantageous long-term capital gains tax rates if a few conditions, such as a certain minimum holding period, are met. And by the way, Fidelity's preferred screener doesn't offer the option to screen preferreds for qualified dividends either, even though it does offer generally more options to customize within its preferred screener tool. In any case, I can't add qualified dividend as a criteria here on Schwab. In fact, I generally cannot really customize the screen. From what I've seen, I can really only scroll down and select whether I want to see 20, 40 or 60 lines per page. And if I scroll up again, I can sort the list by my preferred criteria by clicking on the column label. The default is alphabetic order by symbol, but I'll change that by clicking twice on current yield, and now my list of preferreds is sorted so that the highest current yield comes on the very top. In this case, it's this N-star group 7% preferred, ticker ESGOF, with a current yield of 9.45% that I mentioned towards the beginning of the video. Recall again that the data are all as of the time of this taping, May 25, 2026, and may have changed by the time you are watching this video. Always check for the latest updates before you decide to move forward with a potential preferred. And remember that past performance is not indicative of future results or outcomes. So here we are. We now have a very neat and usable list of 241 preferreds with an investment grade rating on Schwab's platform. And I am now ready to move forward to the next step. Before we do that though, let's save this screen so that I can quickly restore my preferences whenever I come back to the preferred screener later on, or if I accidentally lose it. I'll click on the box Save Screen on the top right of the table, and I'll enter a name for this screen in this box. Let's say Investment Grade S&P. Then I click on Save, and I should be all done. Let's check it out though by clicking on My Saved Screens, and indeed I can see my newly saved investment grade S&P screen here. I'll click on it again, and I'm back where I was before, with N-star on top again, as I wanted to. Let's say I'm now considering buying this N-star preferred from before for purposes of this how-to video. Then I would click on the symbol ESGOF, and this screen pops up. Now, the default chart for one day was unavailable when I took this screenshot. Maybe because I was outside of trading hours, or maybe because there was limited trading on the last day. Who knows? But I could see the chart when I selected different time frames, such as for the past month here. In any case, even on the default screen, I can confirm the name of the preferred, the ticker, and the last closing price. And on the right, I have some details about the security that I haven't seen yet on the overview screen, including the number of shares outstanding, which is relatively small, and the QSIP. And when I scroll down, I see additional details to continue my personal due diligence, including the next payment date for the dividend and whether the dividend is qualified. Now, one word about that last point. We see a clear statement here that this dividend income is not qualified. This means that outside a tax-sheltered account for retirement, for example, I might have to pay full ordinary income taxes on all distributions, which may or may not influence my decision. And one more remark. So far, I have not yet found a case where Schwab explicitly says that the dividend may be qualified. The best I've seen is a statement that qualified tax status is uncertain, which might be their way of saying that treatment as qualified dividends seems possible, or at least that's how I read it. Fidelity seems more courageous here and puts a clear yes next to qualified dividend in their details, where they feel it might be applicable. In any case, you will need to do your own due diligence. Also, please remember that Diamond NestEgg is not a tax advisor. Always consult with your tax advisor for your personal situation. Preferreds may offer attractive yields to investors with the right risk appetite, but they are not as straightforward as treasuries. So, drop a comment below and let me, Jen, and everyone else know whether you want to learn more about how to analyze and compare preferreds, and we'll see what we can pull together if there's enough interest. But let's now assume, for purposes of this video, that I have concluded the due diligence to my satisfaction and want to move forward with this preferred from N-star. Then I would scroll up again and click on the green Buy button. This trade window opens on the right, and the form is already pre-filled with the ticker ESGOF, the action Buy, a quantity of 1, and the order type limit, valid for the day only. The only thing I need to do is add my price, which I can do by setting the limit at 18.6, for example, a little bit above the last closing price, but still close enough to get me potentially close to the 9.45% current yield from the overview. Our preference here is for a limit order to protect against any unpleasant surprises. Don't forget, preferreds may often be less liquid than normal bonds or common stock from the same issuer to start with, and ESGOF in particular has a very small market cap. I'll click on Review now and take a look at the numbers that pop up. Now, in real life, I probably would press cancel at this point, as the estimated commission of $6.95 per trade is quite stiff when applied to just one share. But this is a how-to video after all, so I'll check off this box to acknowledge the note that my limit is higher than the last closing price, and I'm ready to place my order by clicking on the green box at bottom right. Now, I didn't actually place this order today, so I can't tell you whether Schwab would actually have filled it within my limit when the market reopened after the weekend. This preferred looks quite illiquid, as I said before. But we now know how the Schwab preferred stock screener works and how you might be able to find some attractive annualized dividend yields. Please keep in mind, again, that we discussed the preferred stock from N-Star Group, ticker ESGOF, as an illustrative example for the purposes of today's walkthrough. This video is for educational purposes only and not a solicitation or recommendation to buy. Plus, this 9.45% is not guaranteed in any way. Also, preferreds can be complex, so if you need a refresher, please refer back to this video on preferred stock basics, linked below for your convenience. And leave a comment below and let us know what other questions and comments you might have about preferreds. Thanks for watching and see you again soon.